Well, some big performances over the weekend, so we're going to get into it on Live's Hoggs vlog. I just want to say namaste to everyone in India, g'day to the people here in Australia, and hello to our American friends as well, and anywhere else around the world. Thanks very much for joining us on Hoggs vlog. We're going to talk mainly about spin before we get into the questions, so let's get that bumper up and talk about Chahal, and Rasheed Khan. I'll see you over the other side of the bumper. Well, let's get straight into the talking points because I know there'll be questions about Maxwell, RAHUL Chahar, AB de Villiers, but I just want to quickly talk about spin, and the first talking point is spin to Andre Russell. Now, we saw Chahal the other night have to bowl in the death overs against Andre Russell. I thought it was a very good option because he's turning the ball away from the bat. The only thing with Chahal bowling to Andre Russell is that he's always bowling side spin. He doesn't get that extra bounce. So when he's put in that position again, I think he could try and bowl with a little bit more overspin and just create that extra bounce, because Andre Russell, when it's on his pads on leg and middle stump, he likes to play across the line of the ball, and that will create that top edge. But the other thing is too, Virat Kohli bowled him with Andre Russell hitting to the short boundary on the leg side. That's a big no-no. When you've got spin bowling to the big hitter and he's favouring one side, you've got to make sure that the big hitter is hitting to the longer boundary. So he could have bowled him from the other end. Just quickly, Andre Russell, his batting's improved because mostly when I've seen him play alongside him out KKR in the last couple of years, he's just wanted to slog straight down the ground or over that leg side. He knew that Chahal was going to bowl wide of the wicket, and he had that deep point more towards cover, and he backed his cut shot. That's a good sign for KKR that Andre Russell is starting to think about his batting. But the other thing with Chahal bowling from that end, the reason why he bowled with a short boundary on the leg side is because of the depth of bowlers with RCB. They've got Jamieson in there, and they're not happy with him bowling to the short boundary as well because he's more of a length bowler than a Yorker bowler. So they're running out of options out the end there. So Virat Kohli might have to make sure that he gets the right matchups next time that he captains against Andre Russell. Just a quick talking point there. Let's get on to the next one. KL Rahul batting too slowly. In the first game, he motored along. It was a brilliant 90 off 50 balls. But last night, he just took it a little bit too easy in those middle overs. He just felt that he was going to catch it up out the end. But if you do slow it down and you're in, you've got to make sure that you bat right to the finish, and he didn't. He had the likes of Puran in the sheds, as well as Shah Khan and Huda as well. So I just think in that middle period while he and Agarwal were batting, it was around about that 11th over, I think they could have been a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more potent, and put pressure on the opposition team. You've got to keep the momentum going. You can't lower that strike rate down when you've got wickets in the shed. There were none down at that time, and there were 3 overs in a row that went for less than 6. You can't have that. There was a wicket that fell there as well. But in saying that, Rahul might be a little bit concerned with the depth of that batting order as well, because he knew that Ashwin was running out of overs. And if you look at the big hitting Puran, he's not as effective against pace. Yes, he's got a high strike rate, but he's got a low average. He's very effective against spin. So they've got to try and find the right matchup for Puran against opposition teams. Otherwise, they're wasting a batting resource there. So that's something for RCB to think about. Now, I just want to go to RAHUL Chahar and Rasheed Khan. I'll just get my notes there. Rahul, he had 4 for 18, I think it was. And I think Rasheed Khan had none for 22. Was RAHUL Chahar more effective than Rasheed Khan? Now, these are the questions that pop up when two spinners are against each other. Now, Rasheed Khan, he's the prime weapon for Sunrisers Hyderabad. They utilise him in pressure situations to take wickets and to keep the run rate down. So opposition batting teams are going to be a little bit more conservative against Rasheed Khan. So his wicket-taking ability as he goes further on in this IPL is going to decrease, or it's going to be a little bit less effective because teams are going to be cautious against him. Whereas with Rahul Chahar, he's got bowlers out the other end which are applying the pressure. Then the opposition teams have to come after him. And when he's bowling nice and tight and they're finding it hard to find those boundaries against him, that's when he picks up the wickets. So batsmen have got more of aggressive mindset. Come on, George, get the words out. Mindset against Rahul Chahar than Rasheed Khan. That's why Chahar looked as though he was more effective the other night. But the only reason being is he's got quality bowlers around him. Rasheed Khan has to do all the work himself in those middle overs. He doesn't quite have the potency of the attack out the other end. The other points I wanted to bring up. Now, we're going to get into the questions just after we go through the predicted 11 tonight. Chennai, I think they're going to go in with the same team as last game. The only thing that I'd see changing is Ngidi coming in for Bravo, just for that extra pace, but I don't think they'll make that move if Ngidi hasn't been able to get into the nets at least twice before the game starts. Remember, he's been in quarantine, so you don't really want to risk someone of his calibre with pace and extra bounce, something that they do need in that team just for one game, and put his body at risk. So for me, that will be the team that I'll be going after. I'd like to see Garka Ward step up. Yes, he's got a little bit of talent, but he's got to start to deliver now because there's been a lot of talk about him, and he's got that second opportunity. The good thing about that for Garka Ward is there's not much depth in there to take that spot for him. And Dhoni down the end, are we going to see the big hitting Dhoni, or is age getting to him? That's one thing that we can look at tonight. And I like Sam Curran down there as well with the big hitting with Jadeja. They've got a lot of depth in their batting. The way they swung the ball the other night, Chahar especially early on, they looked dynamite for tonight against the Rajasthan Royals. And Chahar against, let's get the teams up for Rajasthan Royals. So just remember, I've said Chahar against the opening batter of the Rajasthan Royals, Joss Buttler. That is the contest I'll be looking forward to tonight. And I think our Rajasthan Royals are going to go in with an unchanged team as well. The only thing I'd start thinking about is thinking about Rahman not playing and playing the extra overseas bat just to strengthen that batting lineup, because the likes of Parag and Doob aren't that powerful in the middle overs. I think they've got to utilise Parag a little bit differently. If there's spin on from both ends, bring him in. If there's not, well, leave him back in the sheds and try and have the other batters batting around him. Other than that, I think the Rajasthan Royals are looking pretty good. I think that's just one change they can look out. Let's just quickly get to the matchups tonight that we've got. What are the key matchups tonight? As I said, Chahal. Chahar against Joss Buttler with the swing, and also how they're going to bowl to Miller in the middle overs as well. Who's going to do that particular job, because Miller's very good against left arm off spin. Can Jadeja contain him? And I'd just like to see how Morris goes again against Faf du Plessis. He seems to have his number. I think he's got him out 4 times. Du Plessis doesn't really have a high strike rate against him, so that could be a big matchup as well. And Raina. I think Rainer's going to have a bit of a field day against the slower pace of the Rajasthan Royals pace attack. So let's get straight into the questions now. Okay, enough of my little predictions. And yes, I've done it in less than 9 minutes. You beauty. So we've got more questions to answer. All right. Nirajan Media. Oh, no. You're looking for a big headline here, I think. Let's get into the question. Hey, mate, media's here. Good to see you. Is KL batting a concern for Punjab? We all know the class of his calibre, but needs to play big aggressive once set, knowing that they don't have finisher down the end. Well, this is a big issue. I think they're a little bit worried with their the way that they finish. I think they are concerned with Paran's matchup against pace down the lower order. Huda batted well yesterday, but he hasn't had that consistency through IPL. And Shah Rukh Khan is someone that I think is going to have a big IPL, and he looked the goods last night again. And now, if he can start to fire down that lower order and get some runs on the board and some quick fire runs as well, and gain some consistency, I think then we'll see Rahul play with a little bit more confidence through those middle overs. But the way that their lineup is now, with the problems that they've had in that middle order, I think he's still a little bit conservative, and he wants to make sure he's there in the back end. But if he doesn't make it to the back end and he bats as slow as he did last night, it leaves his team in a spot of bother, and they're going to be always short 10 to 20 runs of the opposition chasing. So for me, KL Rahul's got to step up a little bit through those middle overs, and back his lower order. Okay, next question, please, Shubs. I better put my glasses on. I am going blind. Untitled Chapter, how you going, mate? MVP of IPL 2021, Glenn Maxwell. Let me think about that. I think Glenn Maxwell is on the way to being that. He's got a lot of consistency. It's a long tournament. He's having a good run, but there's been a lot of talk, RCB, with media and other experts saying that AB de Villiers should bat 3. I don't think so. I think they're going with the right setup there, with Virat Kohli batting around 2 relatively inexperienced players, and then having Glenn Maxwell coming in at 4 with that little buffer with AB de Villiers coming behind him. And as we saw last night, AB de Villiers is a fantastic finisher. So Glenn Maxwell controls the middle overs. AB comes in those final overs, as he did last night. And if you get Daniel Sams into this lineup with his bowling and big hitting at the end, as well as Jamison's batting as well, RCB are starting to look the goods. What they've done, for me, yes, they are short one batter, but what they're doing is they're putting an inexperienced batter in around about in that number 3 position. If he comes off, it lightens a load in the middle order. If it doesn't, that experience and the big money spent in that middle order always has to lift. Now, for me, RCB, Glenn Maxwell is going to win you 3 or 4 games off his own bat. AB de Villiers is going to do the same thing. And then someone like a Sams or Jamison is going to have a day out as well. So there's 7 or 8 games that they win. They'll gain that confidence going into the finals. This team, for me, is going to challenge the likes of Mumbai Indians and Delhi Capitals out the end. This is the best I've seen RCB in IPL cricket. So Untitled Chapter, Glenn Maxwell, MVP of 2021. He has to be for RCB to get through to the finals. Next question, please, Shubs. Yeah, I am on the RCB bandwagon at the moment. Why Delhi Capitals not using Steve Smith properly? Why Rishabh Pant is the captain of the Delhi Capitals when Steve Smith has got more experience in captaincy? A little bit of this, I think. No, let's get off that, George. Come on, let's not be cheeky. Yash Pandey. Look, these are good questions, but is Steve Smith going to play in every game with the balance of the Delhi Capitals? Remember that you've got to rotate. You've got Nortke coming in back into the lineup as well. So if you bring another fast bowler in, you have to take one of the overseas batters out. You've got Wokes in there as well that can play that all-rounder position in the middle order. And he offers you 2 dimensions, whereas Steve Smith only offers you 1 dimension. Steve Smith's performances last year's IPL weren't up to scratch. He has a low strike rate in T20 cricket. So is he going to play every game? That's the question you've got to ask. And Rishabh Pant, you've got to give the Indians the experience to lead the side. They gave that experience to Iyer. Rishabh Pant is, for me, a very confident player. And I think the leadership role for him at Delhi Capitals is going to improve him as a player. And that confidence that he has to back his players and back his decisions, I think they've made the right decision there. So Steve Smith, for me, can't captain the Delhi Capitals just because he doesn't have a frontline position in that team. But that's a good question. And you've put me on the spot there, Yash. And yes, sometimes I like to stick up for my Australian counterparts, but other times I have to see it as I see it. So Steve Smith, no captain for Delhi Capitals. Okay, next question, please, Shubs. Siddharth Chahan, how you going, mate? Hi, Hoggy. What is the main difference you see between Chahal and Chahar? As Chahar is taking a lot of wickets and Chahal not. For me, I think we explained it a little bit earlier or the other day. Chahal is more of a side spinner. He doesn't have too much overspin, and plus he's slightly more round arm than Chahar, and he doesn't get that extra bounce. So batsmen are starting to be able to play those cross bat shots to him, and plus when Chahal is under pressure, he doesn't have the back spinners. He doesn't really have a good quicker ball. He generally goes for that wide option. And if you see, batsmen are realising that. They're setting themselves up once they've got a couple of boundaries against him off his legs to look for that wide ball and take him over cover. Whereas Chahal, for me, he's got a lot more bounce, a few more varieties as well, and can bowl a quicker one with that extra height. So for me, he's starting to be a harder option than Chahal. And that's the thing. When you're playing IPL cricket and international cricket, batsmen are working you out. Other batsmen that haven't faced these particular bowlers before are seeing how other batsmen adjust to these type of bowlers and what's successful against them. This is where bowlers have to sit there and go, right, they're starting to do this to me. What are my options? And as I said with Chahal against Andre Russell earlier, just bowl a little bit more overspin, try and get that extra bounce. And then Andre Russell won't be as confident to play those big slog sweeps. He might get that top edge and you might get the wicket. So you've got to just slightly change it up a bit. And I'd like to see Chahal get a bit of a back spinner in there as well, just to have that ball that slides on and skids on a little bit sharper than what he's got in his repertoire now. Okay, next question, please, Shubs. That is a very good question, Siddharth. Atarava Deshpande, how are you going again, mate? I hope you've all had a good weekend, actually. Everyone who's got on board, Tucker Garg, Biggle, Sahu, Rajesh Kumar, Aditya Jar. Yeah, I'll just mention a few names there. Thanks for joining me. Just about to have another drink. Sorry about that. Why do you think RCB is finding it easy to bat on the Chennai pitch where others are struggling constantly? Well, I think you've got Glenn Maxwell there who likes to play against spin and likes those slower wickets as well. So it's really playing into his strengths. You've got AB de Villiers who's extremely adaptable. So those two particular players are probably the perfect foreign players to play on that particular wicket as frontline batsmen. I think Virat Kohli, I think he's just taking his time as well, and he's rotating the strike a little bit better than previously. But I just think they set it up perfectly around their middle order. They've got that game plan to back Maxwell and AB de Villiers to do the bulk of the work. And actually, just bringing up Virat Kohli the other day, this is going to be a little bit cheeky, guys, a little bit cheeky. Remember last night, Chakravarti bowled that little leg spinner type delivery that turns it away. You could call that the cannonball. And Virat Kohli tried to take him over cover. I think Virat Kohli was trying to give him a little bit of a lesson and prove a point that he's not fit enough. And when dropping him, he didn't want to allow him to perform that night and wanted to get on top of him to prove to Chakravarti that he's got a lot of work to play international cricket in his team. So I think he got a little bit overexcited and just tried to prove too much of a point to Chakravarti last night. And Chakravarti, he came out on top. So Mr. Kohli, you might have to play him down the track. But RCB, their middle order is the team that is the one that is controlling that Chennai wicket, which is perfect. They're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant, Maxwell and de Villiers out at the moment. All right, next question, please. Shubs. Shubs is behind the scenes, remember. We saw him a couple of weeks ago when he mistakenly came up. Well, hopefully you do that again so you can get a good look at him. Ayush Mishra. Did RCB should play Finn Allen in place of Rajat Patidar in the next match versus RR because Mumbai in high-scoring pitch, so Finn Allen will be great. I don't think so. I think you've got to keep your options open. I think you've got to play with an Indian batsman out number 3. And then down that lower order, you've got options to rotate your different types of bowlers that you've got in your squad at the moment. So you might be able to play a Zampa if there's extra spin on the wicket. You might be able to go for a Daniel Sams who can play that big hitting role and give you extra pace options as well. And he's got some variation with his with his cutter deliveries as well as being a left armour. Yes, I'd like to see Finn Hallen have a go, but I just don't think he's got enough experience to go in at the moment at IPL level to be put under pressure at number 3. So for me, that's a good pickup, having Finn Hallen there, but I wouldn't be playing him. I just think they've got good balance out the moment. While they're in games, make sure they have the ability to rotate their fast bowlers out the back end, and because that's where you win most of the games, the way that you defend the game. And talking about their fast bowlers, Harsha Patel, how good was he the other night? The way that he controlled the middle overs against KKR was unbelievable, but there is one person of note that I want to bring up is Siraj, talking about the RCB lineup. Siraj's over against Andre Russell. It only had 1 run come off it. Remember, Andre Russell didn't take any runs off that over. But the second last over, he did not get hit for a boundary, except for that last ball. Every Yorker he went for, he nailed it. He executed it. Now, that's up against a big hitter. That is something that I thought Siraj was lacking in his repertoire. The international experience has improved him. He's known where he's been lacking, and he's been working on it, and he delivered it last night. So Siraj, the way he bowled last night, the way Harsha Patel is bowling, their spin options, they're just getting stronger every minute that I think about it. So well done to Siraj for the way that he's improved. Okay, Shubs, let's get up to the next question. Finn Allen not playing next game. Saket Patel. Do you see Harsha Patel as a third seamer for India, as Shami hasn't proved much in T20s? Shami last night wasn't that flash. He looked out of sorts. He didn't look mentally switched on. But Harsha Patel, yes, he's had opportunities. He hasn't delivered. But this year, he knows what he has to do, looking back at his past experience. The way that he's bowling those slower deliveries, and they're dropping on the batsman at the other end, is bamboozling opposition batsmen. It's something that Boomerang, Malinga had. It's something that Harsha Patel has really worked on with his bowling, but then he changes it up with extra pace as well. He's able to execute a slower Yorker with a quicker Yorker, but also deliver it on a good length, and he hasn't got a bad bouncer as well. So he's got such good variety. And I think opposition teams have really underestimated him. They felt that they could target him and get some quick runs against him, and he's proven to be a very valuable asset in this RCB team. So everyone's looking at them going, Maxwell batting in that middle over. Oh, yes, he's going to have a good day here and there, but he's not going to be consistent. Then you've got Harsha Patel down there. The batsmen are licking their lips. And all of a sudden, both of these players have delivered to their full potential, and opposition teams are starting to worry about RCB. So third seamer for India. You've got Bhuvneshwar Kumar in there with Boomerang. He's up there pushing it. You've got Chaha from Chennai Super Kings. I think the way that Harsha Patel is bowling at the moment in those middle overs, if you're looking for a seam bowler, I think Harsha Patel could be the option to have a death bowler and middle over bowler with the seam department, with the spinners, and Bhuvneshwar and Boomerang opening the bowling and helping out with the death as well. So he could be there. He could be there. Let's just see how the rest of his IPL goes. But if he keeps these performances up, I think the Indian selectors are going to have him in that T20 squad at the end of the year. Saket Patel, you have made me really think there. I'm going to be monitoring Harsha Patel a lot more for the rest of the tournament. Let's go for the next question, please, Shubs. Kev Clues. Was it right from Morgan to cut Chakravorty after the fantastic first over? Did it cost KKR heavily? Not really, because I think you're looking at Chakravorty to bowl against the different types of batsmen that RCB had in their lineup. So he was their linchpin. He was backing the other bowlers to help out in that regard. So, yeah, you could look at it that way. But, Kev, I think where they lost it was in the last couple of overs with their death bowling. I think Andre Russell last night, I gave him a good rap with his batting, but even with his batting, his body language has got a lift. There were a couple of opportunities where he could have ran twos, but he just jogged down for the ones. He didn't want to take on the field. But also with the bowling, he didn't take the run out with one ball to go. Now, just taking that run out and getting that wicket could have just lifted the spirits of KKR because they were flat. They were getting belted all over the park. But I don't know whether he's getting a little bit upset that he's just bowling 2 overs in the death overs as well, because he lost confidence. You could see with his body language that he wasn't on song, and you could just see that A.B. de Villiers had taken the wind out of his sails after that first over, and when he came on for the second over, he didn't know where he was going to pitch it. So for me, I thought it was Andre Russell's last 2 overs where KKR lost it last night and not running hard between the wickets. But anyway, Shubs has gone through all the questions that's come through. Some haven't got through. Sam Colgan, just saw you there. Sonu Sojan, thanks very much for joining us. We'll be live again tomorrow at the same time. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget, follow me on Instagram at Brad Hogg _Hogg, and Twitter, same handle as well. Have a good day, guys. Enjoy your day.